Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending Ford's Women in Software panel. My name is Brandy Joe. My pronouns are he, him, and I am a part of Ford's University Relations team. I will be your host for today's event. Now, we hope that you are all off to a wonderful start to your semester, and we appreciate you taking time out of your day to come and join us today. As you may know, Facebook and Instagram are down, so where else could you be? Here with us, and we appreciate it. We have some amazing pre-submitted questions that we're going to be covering today. But if you have a question that you did not submit in advance, you can go to the chat or the Q&A section and pop that in. And if we have time at the end of today's session, we will get to them. Now, I imagine most, if not all of you, are familiar with Ford Motor Company. Ford has been around for 117 years. We have over 186,000 employees working on everything from developing new iterations of our most popular nameplates to building cutting-edge technology of fully autonomous vehicles to focusing on sustainability and safety engineering and so much more. At Ford, our purpose is to help build a better world where every person is free to move and pursue their dreams. We're working hard through the development of must-have battery electric vehicles such as the Mach-E, the new BEV F-150, and the E-Transit to provide sustainable vehicles that are defining the future of the road. We've also made sure to provide some of our favorite nameplates in hybrid forms. Now, we've been also working with innovative partners like Google and the groundbreaking technology like self-driven vehicles to propel forward the future of mobility. Ford is embracing technology. We're putting data and software first to unleash the power of AI, to push boundaries, and to advance workplace technology and workspaces. We're working in new ways and integrating software in data. And if you have a passion for technology, security data, coding, or design of various types, including accessibility, application, web design, there's a spot for you here at Ford. Some of the projects here that you could be working on, you could be uh, a designer working on applications and the next Mach-E. You could be a software engineer coding on the new EV Lightning or Bronco. All right, so I'm going to quit talking. Let's meet our awesome panelists. I'm going to have each of them tell us a little bit about themselves, and then we will dive into your questions. All right, so Maddie, why don't you kick us off and tell us a little bit about yourself? Hello and welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Maddie. I am a product manager in our marketing and sales IT department. I'm also a Ford College graduate, so that's our rotational program we have. And yeah, I'm really happy to be here and talk with everyone today.
Awesome. Well, I'm happy to have you here. All right, Mina, hello, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Joe. I am Mina Bala Subramaniam. I am a software engineering lead in the autonomous vehicle organization of Ford. I've been with Ford for the past 8 years, done a lot of cool stuff, still in the process of learning new stuff. So it's been an awesome experience for me. Thank you. And I'm
Thank
really
you.
happy to be here as well.
Well, I'm super happy to have you here. And last but certainly not least, Amanda, hello. Tell us and everyone out there a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks everybody for having me today. Brandy Joe's definitely one of the most energetic hosts that I've seen. But I'm Amanda Fisher. I'm very happy to be here. My pronouns are she and her. I've kind of made my way through the different Ford student employment programs from all the way from starting as an intern back when I was an undergraduate, then through the Ford College graduate program that Maddie had mentioned, and then just past my 5-year work anniversary with Ford. So it's been a really fast 5 years, and I'm excited to share more of my experiences with all of you.
That's awesome. Congrats. All right, well, let's get to some of these questions. I appreciate everyone who pre-submitted. And again, if you're just joining us, if you want to pop a question in the Q&A or chat, if we have the time, we're going to get to those as well. All right, so the first question that came in, what led you to your current field of work? And has your path changed along the way? If so, how? So it's kind of a three-parter or a two-parter, depending on how you look at it. So I'm going to start with Mina. Mina, tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are today.
Yes, I know I have to dig up my old stories, right? So my field of study was applied mathematics and computer science. So that's the degree I hold. And so with this degree, it was pretty natural for me to take up a career in software engineering. I really love to code and build software. So that's how I started my career. So I started as an individual contributor, writing some old type of programs, and then currently I have grown myself into leading multiple software engineering teams. So if you really talk about the field as such, hey, I was building software to solve business problems. I still do the same, right? But what I want to tell you is what has changed over these years, right? So the software methodology definitely has changed. So for example, right, if you take the software methodology perspective, good old days, the software was built in a purely waterfall model. A business comes and says that, hey, this is the software problem I want to solve. Please build the software for me. It took months for people to understand what the requirement was. It took again, months to put a project plan together, and then it put years together to build the software. So by the time the software was built, it kind of already have become obsolete. So today how we build software, it's all agile, right? So delivering at market speed, it's a very important. And with faster feedback loop, that is the expectation in software development. So if a business customer and comes and asks us to solve a business problem using a software, they want to see something quickly, right? So how do we accommodate that? So we go into this agile mode, right? So we continuously build software, we continuously iterate, we continuously talk to our customers. So there is a collaboration between people building software and our business partners. So that's from the development perspective. But from a technology standpoint, I think all of you can relate to it, right? How many of you remember those flip phones? And now we are into an age of bigger phones, right? So as a software engineer, I've gone through multiple technology waves. And even today, I'm going through a new wave because Ford is, we are going to be hosting our application in the Google Cloud platform, so which is brand new. So we are all going through that learning curve, right? So that's how my path has changed, and I'm changing along the way.
That's amazing. And you're right. I mean, things move so quickly now. And you talk about how in the past, how things, by the time something came out, it was sort of obsolete. And now we're moving so fast, it's hard to imagine how things could possibly get any faster, but they're going to, and we're going to move right along with it. And I think that's incredibly exciting. All right, Maddie, why don't you tell us a little bit about your career journey and how you got to where you are and how your path has changed along the way?
Yeah, so I just grew up always enjoying math, science, and kind of problem solving type classes. And I just knew I wanted to go into some form of engineering. Um, I always loved like that technology was always changing, and I'm kind of grew up in that middle between millennial and Gen Z. So I grew up with technology, and it was just something that always fascinated me. So in college, I was like, oh, I'll try out a few classes. I ended up really enjoying it. I'm only in my second year in the professional field, so I'm still have a lot of room for change, but definitely I noticed I started interning as a software engineer, and now where I am, my path has changed because I kind of realized I enjoyed the business side of IT a bit more. So that's what has led me now to be a product manager. Um, so that's kind of a bit of a change, but nothing too severe of a change. Still love IT, and just generally love the tech field.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations to getting where you are, and it's exciting to see what will happen with you in the future. All right, Amanda,
Yes.
tell us a little bit about your career path and how you got to where you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a lot of times with engineering, you hear a lot of backstories of, tinkering at age like 3, or I was tinkering since I was in diapers or something. That definitely wasn't me. It really took until probably like the last part of high school for me to see like computing and like technology as like a career path that I would want to pursue. So I actually got kind of attracted into it with web development. My high school was fortunately offering that, and it kind of gave me just enough of a taste to commit to doing it for my bachelor's degree. Then when I was working towards my bachelor's degree, I kind of was having a hard time picking a side between computer science and IT. Computer science at the university I went to in Michigan was definitely more like programming focused. I was interested more in like the broader scope of IT, or like technology. So I went towards the IT degree, which had a little bit of programming, like system administration, human computer interaction, and kind of a full gamut of what technology would be. Then when I was, graduating, it's okay, now I've learned about all these cool things. Which one do I pick for a career? And I was having a really hard time narrowing down where, I wanted to drive my career forward for the next 5, 10, 15 years. And that's what really attracted me to Ford was with the program. The Ford College Graduate or FCG program that they offer is rotational. So I could try out a couple different types of roles. I started off with being a project manager, which was a lot of kind of understanding IT at a high level and understanding how different technology implementations, how they can take, different lengths of time to set up a server or to migrate an application. I wanted something a little bit more technical after that role though. So then I kind of jumped full force into software engineering in Ford Credit and was on a team with that, fast-paced agile methodology. We were pair programming, so I kind of got my coding skills up to speed really quickly. And I fell in love with kind of that way of working. So I stuck with that for my third rotation. I wanted to be a little bit closer to kind of the vehicle because that's, Ford's bread and butter. So moving into a software engineering role that was close to the vehicle, I loved that, but then I started missing the business aspect. So I've been trying to find this balance. And like Maddie, I think I've found that with a product manager role over in connected vehicle because it allows me to use those couple years of software engineering experience to have that technical knowledge, and that kind of makes me a better product manager because I'm able to understand discussions with engineers. I'm able to like understand discussions with a business customer and where they're coming from, and the engineering aspects they may find confusing. So it's been a kind of a flip-flopping journey so far, but really excited about what the next couple years will bring too.
That's awesome. And I love that so much about Ford. If you're interested in something outside of what you're currently doing, it's highly encouraged for you to look into that, to reach out to someone and say, like, hey, I'm really interested in what you're doing, and to have those conversations and to be able to move around within the company. I mean, it's a mobility company, and they encourage mobility within the company. And that's not like everywhere out there. And also, you mentioned the Ford College Graduate Program, which is the rotational program. And I like to describe it like a sampler plate because you get to try a little bit of everything and sort of see what you love. And even if you're in something that may not be something you want to do the rest of your life, you're definitely learning a lot that's going to help you as you move forward in the company. And it's a really cool program. All right, so the next question, how does Ford support your career development? Maddie, could you take that one for us?
Yeah, I think Ford really does an amazing job of supporting your career development. Like I mentioned, I've only been here for less than 2 years, but every supervisor and mostly all of the coworkers that I have encountered have been really encouraging and kind of take on like a mentoring role to you. They really want to shape you into like being a great like IT professional and help you succeed in that specific role. Um, like they're not teaching you just like, oh, how to succeed as a product manager or how to succeed as a software engineer, but as an IT professional. And also they just give you great professional career advice as well. And then also just again, like the FCG program, you're given a lot of additional opportunities to learn outside your day-to-day job, which really help you grow as a young professional when you kind of are starting off like, I have no idea what's going on. I don't know how to like act in meetings with upper management. I don't know how to like handle those tougher situations that they don't really teach you in college. So I just think everyone's willing to help you learn, and that's what I really have enjoyed about Ford so far.
That's awesome. Amanda, what about you? Do you have anything different to add on the ways that Ford has supported you in your career development?
Absolutely. So even being what I consider, early career as well, with only 5 years at Ford, um, I have kind of three big ones. The first one was after finishing my bachelor's, I joined Ford full time right away in that rotational program. So um, one of the reasons that I was attracted to Ford was that they were open about supporting higher education while I was working. So I was able to complete a master's degree in IT management while I was working, and I had the support of, even moving around the company in those different rotations. Every supervisor was very supportive and encouraging me to, use the learnings from my courses into improving in my daily job. So that was one big area. Another is the Women of Ford group. So we have basically a giant chat with a great network of women that are always supportive. And, sometimes being a woman in tech or a woman in an engineering field brings its own challenges, and having that network to call on is huge. And then the third one is kind of rebounding off of what Maddie was saying too. So many people just willingly, stepping up to help. Even just earlier today, I had a conversation about, what I'd like to see in the next couple steps for me. That was kind of initially started with my supervisor. He recommended I talk to someone else that I didn't have a lot of, prior contact with, but they were very willing to be open and, share their journey and offer me resources to help kind of direct mine further. So definitely a lot of people-oriented support and getting where you kind of see yourself in the next few years every step of the way.
That's amazing. And you touched on another thing I really love about Ford, which is the employee resource groups, or the ERGs. We have 11 here at Ford right now, and they're just great resources to meet people. You can join them as soon as you become a part of Ford. And it's such a nice way to meet new people, to network, to be a part of events, to have this group of people you can reach out to that may share a very similar, like, look through life in the same sort of lens that you do. And you don't even have to necessarily, be a part of the LGBTQ community to be a part of Ford Globe. You can be an ally, and I love that that's also a part of it. You can be an ally to be a part of any of these employee resource groups, and they're just a really great connection. And I'm so happy to be a part of a company where they have those, and really great ones. All right, so I just saw something come through in the chat about how do you get an internship at Ford, and I have not mentioned it yet, but our career site is careers.ford.com. So I highly recommend going there and checking that out. It won't be the last time I'm going to mention that website, but it's careers.ford.com, and it's great to go there, peruse, put in some keywords, and see where your passions and your skills align with the positions that we have, and apply. And you don't have to apply just for one. You can apply for any that really speak to you. So I encourage you to go there. All right. So our next question that came in, how did you decide you wanted to work at Ford Motor Company? So why Ford, essentially? Amanda, can you answer that for us? Why Ford above some of the other places? I'm sure you had like other offers and other opportunities.
Yeah, I imagine like a lot of the attendees today, you go to your university career fair, or you connect with your university like career services, and you've got a lot of employers that you're kind of referred to. And there's definitely that, panic of how am I prioritizing? How am I going to figure out what my decision's going to be? For me, it really came down to one, kind of the stability and the resources that Ford was able to offer so early in my career was very attractive to me. But I think the main thing was um, when I would talk to the recruiters on campus and anybody else that they connected me to, it really felt like a two-way conversation. They were interested in helping me find a good fit, not just, you're a great student, we want you for the company. They also wanted me to make sure, I felt comfortable that Ford was going to be a good fit for me and my career goals. Where a lot of other employers or a lot of my other options, it felt very one way of, we're just pulling the people with high GPAs or high student, engagement involvement, where Ford's really felt like they were, working towards developing me with my career right off the bat.
That's awesome. And Maddie, what about you? Would you mind chiming in on that as well?
Yeah, I can echo everything that Amanda said because that's exactly how I felt at career fairs with Ford and other companies as well. But mine's a little different too because Ford is kind of part of my life for a long time. I'm a third generation Ford employee. And it's all started when my grandfather came to America for a job on the factory line. So kind of had a deep place in my heart too. Growing up, I'm always like, I know how much Ford has done for my family, so that was really important. And I was like, I'll give it a shot. I'll intern one summer, see if I like it. And then I ended up loving it. The great culture, the never-ending opportunities, and just a company that I've seen firsthand really care about its employees. And that really helped me decide of coming here to work full time. And then just also, again, I'll mention a million times today, the rotational program that made me like great opportunity to learn and just like really be a diverse IT employee by trying out different roles.
I love that you mentioned family because, I mean, with you, it quite literally, Ford is in your family and in your blood. But it's definitely another thing that we talk about often as being a part of the Ford company is the Ford family. And it's another aspect I just love so much about being a part of Ford is that it does feel like family. You're excited to see everybody, you know, even if it's just virtually like we are right now. It's so fun to connect and really get that support from one another, and I value that a lot. So I love hashtag Ford family.
Yeah.
All right, so our next question, and this is an interesting one. What is the biggest challenge that you see Ford working through currently? Amanda, do you have a response to that?
Yeah. So my current position as a product manager, my team is one small piece of the larger feature called Blue Cruise, which is kind of our next step toward autonomous driving. So if you're familiar with adaptive cruise control, where it kind of can speed up or slow down depending how far you are from the vehicle in front of you, this is kind of the next step where on certain roads, you'd be able to not use your hands, your eyes would still have to be forward, and then the vehicle would kind of use that adaptive cruise control and steer for you. So that's what my team's currently working on. So I think the biggest challenge that I see, you know, day to day for Ford is everything with kind of autonomous driving. A lot of it is so dependent on, you know, speed to market or market speed, you know, quick delivery and everything. And while Ford has a lot of processes in place, like Mina had talked about earlier with agile delivery, and we're being more nimble with that. I think what's really a tricky position for Ford is with us being an older, like a historic company, we have a very like established brand, and we want people to feel safe, and we have that family aspect that we're putting you first, you and your safety first. So it's really trying to balance that and making sure we're testing every, you know, scenario possible. And if you've seen the commercial for Blue Cruise, they talk about one of our favorite acronyms, because Ford loves acronyms, called MOAR, which is Mother of All Road Trips. And essentially, we've been, you know, going around driving fleets of vehicles around the country, trying to grab data on every road where this is going to be available, so that we know we can align Ford's, you know, next step toward autonomous vehicle with the brand. So kind of the balance of the brand with you know, the speed to market that is also pretty crucial for autonomous driving.
Definitely. That's very cool. An exciting project to work on. Maddie, what about you? Do you think that what do you see as like the biggest challenge right now that Ford is working through currently?
Yeah, I think what Amanda mentioned, that's very interesting and definitely seems like an issue that is going to be ongoing for a long time too, something we have to work around. In my position, I can say that I'm in the auto to delivery space in marketing and sales IT, and we wholesale vehicles to dealers. And one of the big issues we saw this year was the chip shortages as well. So that was a huge issue of not being able to get vehicles out to dealers, not even being able to sell certain vehicle lines. So that was an issue. And then I think just the big problem right now, just in the world that we're living in, is remote work too, and just finding ways to keep our employees engaged and colleagues connected. I see as being kind of a challenge, but I think Ford does a pretty good job of keeping us informed of what's happening with COVID and how return to work and everything. But it definitely is a challenge to join a team new and still have never met your coworkers face to face.
It's so true. And there's lots of creative ways I know that we have worked on because I have many coworkers that I've never sat in an office with right now. And I mean, our gift game is strong. That's how I say it, is GIF, not GIF, but our gift game is strong. It is definitely a really fun way to communicate with each other with our WebEx chat, which is what we use here for. All right, well, thank you both so much. All right, so our next question, what are some of your favorite projects you worked on here at Ford? Which is a great question. Amanda, could you kick us off real quick with what are your favorite projects that you've been a part of?
Yeah, I think one of my favorites was definitely my second rotation in the full-time FCG program. Um, it was over in Ford Credit, which has a very, with Ford being large, we have a little bit of different cultures kind of in each area, like different departments. Um, Ford Credit is kind of a company within a company, and they have an even tighter knit kind of family feel to it. So it was a really fun, fast-paced environment for me to work on. It was basically a front end application within our Ford account manager. So for people who lease or buy Ford vehicles and finance it through Ford Credit, they'd have this web page available where it gave their contract details in like a more consumable way, so they wouldn't have to dig through a file cabinet to find their print contract that they signed at a dealership. Um, and I think that was probably my favorite because it was like my first role where I really kind of appreciated the voice of the customer more and understanding user experience and how that, doesn't always line up with this makes the most sense for developing or technology. But if it's, a terrible experience and it takes you 10 clicks to get to what you want to do, that wasn't always the best option. So I think I learned a lot about how to think of our customers in that, which I think is continuing to help kind of in my current role. And I'm, guessing many roles in the future.
Definitely. What about you, Maddie? What are some of your favorite projects?
Yeah, so one of my favorite project was on my first rotation, and I had the opportunity to work on a completely new project here at Ford as part of our customer experience efforts and a new way to change our marketing communications to our customers. I just enjoyed it because I really believe that customer experience, like Amanda mentioned, is such an important part of our relationship with our consumers. And being able to be a part of that for changing the marketing communication to better suit the customer and seeing a project from beginning to end was really a great opportunity.
That's awesome. All right, let's move on to our next question. What effect has electric and autonomous vehicles made on the automotive industry, and how has that impacted your current job or training? Amanda, why don't you kick us off with that?
Sure. So you already heard a little bit about my team's directly involved with that, so it's definitely impacting, my day to day. I think just as someone that's kind of observing the news around electric vehicle as well, I think it's really interesting to see how kind of legislatures balancing out with the future of electric vehicle. There's so much urgency and so much need to have that as a sustainable way to move forward as a power for, vehicles. I had kind of the chills watching the F-150 electric reveal and everything and all the excitement. And I think it's interesting how they're trying to deliver quickly and then also, trying to figure out among everyone in the industry, how are we still able to make sustainable decisions, when the batteries are dead or need replacing. You can't just, throw them in landfill or something. So you've got all these different voices in that conversation that I think is really interesting and unique. And one of the things that I'm most excited for with kind of electric and autonomous, with including those different voices, is kind of the um, revitalization of the Michigan Lake Central Station as a hub for those communications going forward. So um, definitely interesting to see how everything's kind of playing out with the different voices. And interested to see how my day-to-day changes with, I'm sure, lots of new training that'll be coming to support both of those.
Definitely. And Maddie, what about for you? How has electric and autonomous vehicles made an impact on your current job?
Yeah, I haven't had nearly as much of a hands-on experience as Amanda has with it, but I definitely just see that it's helping Ford become more competitive, quick on their feet, like Amanda said, market, delivering at market speed. I just think it has really impacted the automotive industry in fact of changing the supply chain, and we've made a lot of investments in new software and technologies, and it can completely change the future of cars, and impact on consumers purchasing cars as well. If ride-sharing vehicles become more common, there may be less vehicle purchases in the future. So it's interesting to hear about those aspects of autonomous vehicles and also electric vehicles, and just there's so many different parts to it that it is crazy how much it changes the auto industry as a whole, just like with legal issues, legal frameworks, everything like that. But personally, I haven't really had any impacts to my day-to-day job yet from them, but it's definitely something that I'm always interested to learn more about.
That's awesome. I think that you both are doing so many cool things. I mean, I'm in the university relations team, which is cool too, but I think your projects sound extremely cool. I think I need to come shadow you for a little bit, learn a little bit more. All right, so now you sort of talked about, or not sort of, but you did talk about how Ford supports you. But more specifically, the question was asked, as a woman, how does Ford support you as a woman in software? So I'm curious what your response there might be. Maddie, why don't you kick us off? How does Ford support you as a woman in software?
Yeah, so as Amanda mentioned, there's a lot of organizations that Ford has that really helps you have a good support circle when you're a woman in software. We have Women of Ford, the Women of Ford IT, Women in Tech programs, and those are just amazing mentorship circles. You just always are learning about other jobs in IT that people have, how they've succeeded, how other women have succeeded in this field, and that's always really good encouragement for me as an IT professional. And then I just really think that having like female mentors in at Ford is just very beneficial. They kind of show you a different perspective to things, which I think it's always good to have both sides of it. And then just a lot of encouragement from upper management too. I definitely think that people are aware of the gap of women and men in technology, but they don't use it as something that's kind of like held against you in a way. I don't really know the right words to use, but like they don't use it as like, oh, because you're a woman, this like I feel like I've never really experienced that much like bias for being a woman in technology at Ford. So that's been a good experience so far.
Yeah, definitely. That's for sure. What about you, Amanda? How has Ford supported you as a woman in software?
Yeah, I think definitely a lot of just I think inherent kind of support built into like the key like culture of Ford. I think that's kind of embedded in a lot of the people that are just in your day to day. Some of the more specific occurrences of like support that I've seen is not only like, do we have the internal resources like the employee resource groups. Ford has also supported personally like my attendance in a lot of external like nonprofit type women in tech connecting events. One of the larger ones here in Michigan is called MCWIT, or MCWT, and they offer a whole host of programs that's not Ford specific. It has a lot of different industry voices and partners in that. But Ford has always been very vocal about sharing those opportunities and supporting through funding or through approving, the day to go do a training with them or, a STEM outreach event or something along those lines. And it's been really great to kind of have a nonprofit outlet for professional development as well, and have those opportunities to engage with other women outside of Ford even, and hear about their experiences or offer advice if they're struggling through different scenarios. I've really enjoyed kind of that networking aspect of it as well. Um, yeah, and I think a big thing as well, um, I've seen more and more, I'd say over the past 2 years, a much stronger emphasis on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So not only, just bringing women to the table, it's bringing, women with all different backgrounds, bringing people of all different backgrounds, that isn't just focused on, gender, or race or anything. It's just making sure we've got enough diverse voices at the table, because it benefits everyone at the end of the day. You know, the more diverse we are, the more diverse of products and services that we can offer to a diverse world. So I think it makes it all better, makes all of us better in the long run. And I think Ford has taken a very firm stance on the inclusion part of DEI.
That's so very true, and that's a passion of mine, and I love that you touched on it, and it is extremely important, and I love how important it is here. All right, so next, I'm sure a lot of people listening might be interested in internships here at Ford. So I want to talk to the two of you, and Mina had to step away for a moment, and hopefully she'll be able to rejoin us. So I just wanted to acknowledge that here. So let's talk little bit about the internship program here. So there's a couple of questions here, but first, how did you go about landing your internship? And you sort of talked about what it was already, but could you talk a little bit about the process of how you came about getting your internship with Ford, and what advice you might have for someone who might be looking to intern at Ford? Sort of a two-parter there. Maddie, would you kick us off, please?
Yeah, I just attended career fairs. That's something that's so important when you're in college. Just career fairs, they kind of stink, but you got to go to them. And then I just reached out to recruiters. I asked a lot of questions just to understand if Ford was also a good fit for me. And then just applied online. And then, yeah, just asking questions is really important too, because I know someone once told me that not only is the company interviewing you, but you're also interviewing the company. So really, feeling comfortable for that was a good fit that they were going to have what would help me grow as a student and like IT professional. And then I just applied for the positions that interest me, and then the interview process and all of that happened, and just clearly stated that I was interested to the recruiters, reached out after, and just thanked them for their time and that I really wanted to be a part of Ford.
That's awesome. And I was just about to say it. If you weren't going to say it, Madison, I was going to say you are also interviewing the company. So keep that in mind when you go to these interviews. That it's a two-way street. You want to see if this is the place you want to spend some more of your time. So I think that's some great advice. Amanda, tell us a little bit about you. Why Ford? How did you get to this particular internship, and what advice might you have for anyone looking to intern?
Yeah, sure. So, may not be able to tell from kind of the forum and the setting today, but I'm definitely very introverted. So for me, it was kind of like the slow like step up into psyching myself up to apply for it and to talk to recruiters. But some of the ways that I did that, at the university I attended, in Michigan, Oakland University. Um, it's a primarily commuter-based university. So I knew I had to be a little bit more intentional about like involvement on campus and attending campus events. Um, but again, it was kind of a buildup over the years. I'd casually try and stop by during any like employers that were on campus in between lunches or in between classes. Um, Before COVID, shake a hand and like grab a brochure and do a little investigating just so that I knew what I would be looking for when I was more seriously, you know, investigating an internship opportunity. And then through kind of that preparation the first couple years at the university, my connections as a student employee, if you work on campus anywhere, my involvement with student organizations. We actually had kind of a forward mentor that was involved with the student organization that I was most active in. So they were able to give a little bit of advice of, um, go to career services, ask about these types of questions or what you should be looking for, and kind of working with mentors of different student orgs to get their advice about, the best ways to prep. But yeah, I think it really does come down to, having that actual presence at a career fair and um, being comfortable in who you are and telling your story. Um, but, being authentic and vocal about your interest in the company specifically is a great way to start.
It's so true. And this year, Ford is only virtually showing up to campuses. So, if you are having a career fair, if it's a virtual one, look to see if Ford is there. If you're going to particular professional orgs, like SWE is coming up. And so, Ford will be at SWE. Check us out there. OSTEM is coming up, will also be there. And if for some reason we're not going to be at a career fair that you'll be a part of, reach out to us on LinkedIn. I know Amanda and Maddie in particular are on LinkedIn, and you can reach out and ask us questions. I'm on LinkedIn. Feel free. There's also other university relations specialists like myself on there. Reach out and ask them Ford employees questions if for some reason you're not able to connect. And we hope next year we'll be back on campus in person, because there is just nothing like that energy between people when you're actually physically face to face. So I know I miss that, and I'm excited to get back to that. All right, here's another great question, and we're nearing the end of our time, but I think that this is an awesome one that I really want to hear all of your feelings on. What are common misconceptions that people have on the automotive industry as it relates to software? Mina, could you answer that one for us? I would love to hear your thoughts.
Yes, I can, because it's a very interesting question. And this comes up in our family dinner table as a debate. I have nephews and nieces who are in college, who are pursuing software engineering, and they think, hey, Ford makes cars. It's for mechanical engineers. Why do I need to apply to Ford Motor Company, right? No, 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 no. That's not the way it goes, right? So that's a common misconception that a student has. But the reality is, Ford is focusing on technology first. And as Joel was mentioning, right, all the artificial intelligence and machine learning. So think about the data that the connected cars emit, right? It's not just once in a while, right? Think about the millions and millions of data that we get from cars. And guess what? Who needs to process those data? We need software engineers, we need mathematicians, right? We need data scientists. So if you are a software engineer who are interested in all those, Ford is definitely the place. So next is think about all the mobile services that we need to provide to our consumers once they buy the car, right? We have a Ford Pass app. We have different kinds of mobile applications. So guess what? As a software engineer at Ford, if you're interested in mobile development, you get to build that. Similarly, if you are interested in website development, think about going to Ford.com, and then you configure a vehicle, you look at a vehicle, you design, right? So guess who gets to do that? Software engineers do that. So again, if you have a misconception that, yes, I mean, as you said, right, car is definitely a bread and butter, but it is all about the technology that goes inside the car. It's all about the cool stuff that you get to do as a software engineer. So if students out here, if you are interested in problem solving and doing like these type of software engineering development, Ford is the best place to work.
I love it. That's a great response. All right, I think we have time for one last question, and so I'm going to ask it, and I don't fully understand it, but I imagine most of the people out there listening today do. And that is, can you talk about the tech stacks used by the teams at Ford? Amanda.
Yes, absolutely. So it actually kind of ties in a little bit with what Mina was saying too. I think one of the big misconceptions is with us being a more historic company is that we all work off of old tech stacks, and that's absolutely not true. Teams are popping up faster than we can find people to to code. So some of the tech stack that I've been most familiar with in my software engineering portion, I was coincidentally, I would say, on two teams that were Java based. Um, Although they were Java based, they were like microservice based. They weren't, huge applications. They were, kind of containerized into different microservices. We use a couple different unit testing frameworks as well to make sure everything is, I'd say, up to code, but that's just too terrible a pun to use. But we're even looking into some newer languages as well. My current team, we're using Scala, which is definitely a bit different. Um, and, as was saying, as we grab more data, as we try and find new ways to use it, there's going to be new languages that we're going to be encouraged, and we're going to have to be curious enough to go and learn about to bring into our products.
That's awesome. And it's another thing we hear at Ford a lot is be curious. Maddie, do you
Yes.
have anything to add to the tech stacks used by teams here at Ford?
No, I just can echo everything they said, and like Mina mentioned before, all the different possible IT roles that you can have here. It really depends what team you're on, of what tech stack you'll be using. Just as an example, my team now, we use PCF, Java, Spring Boot, SQL Server as our database platform. We use GitHub and Jenkins and Gradle. And then and as a product manager, I use Rally for my backlog management work. And then my first rotation, I used Sketch as a product designer. I used Adobe a lot. We used Pega, which is like a kind of online AI coding tool. So yeah, it just really varies what team you're on, but there's a lot of opportunities here at Ford to work on and learn many different technologies.
That's awesome. I know I joked around with y'all before. The only stacks I'm familiar with are pancake stacks. But I appreciate all of that. There's so many of them. And I think that's so cool that Ford has a hand in working with so many various different softwares. I think that's so cool. And as Amanda said, like it's going to keep evolving and we're going to be learning more. And that's pretty awesome. All right, so we're a little bit past. I appreciate everyone for sticking around. I really want to thank the three of you for joining us today and sharing your expertise and your experiences and everything like that. It's really exciting to hear all about it because Ford is evolving and changing, and it's so fun to be a part of it. And you all are making that happen. So thank you. And again, if you're out there interested in checking out what Ford has to offer as far as internships, the Ford College Graduate Rotational Program, or just even regular old jobs, experienced professional jobs, you can go to careers.ford.com. I think when this meeting closes out, it will take you right there. You might get a little warning thing saying you're about to be taken to another page, but once it closes and if you click OK, that's where you're going to go. And feel free to reach out to us via handshake, through LinkedIn, ask any questions you may have. We're excited to have you along for this journey. And thank you all so much for joining us. I hope you have a great semester, a wonderful year, and a fantastic day. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
Bye.